Welcome back to the Authentic Human Podcast, where we explore consciousness, creation, existence, and evolution through conversations with the universal beings who created existence itself and the universe. So this is part 122 of the story of creation. And if you're new here, welcome. Hi. If you're not new here, you know that we've been diving deep into the story of creation. And why we started doing this was because in December of 2024, the creator, after working with him, for 24 years, more than 20 years, he came and he asked if I would be the one who would put the physical side together and share the story of creation from their perspective. Okay. And this is really important because, I wasn't chosen because I was the one. He asked me if I would choose to partner with them, right? Because that's how the universe works, right? So I can say, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But you have to partner, you have to show up, right? So I had to figure out how I was going to do this. And, I already had a podcast. So that's how the story of creation ended up on the Authentic Human Podcast. Originally it wasn't that way. The Authentic Human Podcast was me getting information from people's souls in the universe for them individually. And then it evolved into the story of creation for a couple of reasons. The biggest reason being, personally, I am absolutely obsessed with creation and understanding why humans exist and what we're meant to be doing and how we were created. Like, I want to know. So that's my obsession kind of took over the Authentic Human Podcast and has now, we've gone deep into the story of creation and we're thick in it. And there's a lot of different aspects of existence that we're going to go into as a result of what we've learned here. And this will continue going once the story of creation is complete, but that's years away. So, if you've been here for a while, I thank you. I thank you for, following along. And if you're new here, I highly encourage you to dive deep into the story of creation and start at the beginning. It doesn't mean you can't just jump in anywhere because you can. But if you're one of those people who understand, that universal information, so the reason and the way that the universal beings share information is by layering it in. Why? Because our minds, have been controlled and they've been manipulated for a really long time. So this is not just our life and it's been going on for 5 years or 10 years, right? This is generations deep, hundreds of generations, sometimes thousands of generations. And so ultimately what they're doing is they're restoring your capacity to access consciousness. Okay. And how do you do that? Well, first you have to rebuild trust. And how do you rebuild trust? By infusing truth over and over and over again. That's ultimately what the story of creation is. It's one layer of truth on another layer of truth, on another layer, on another layer. Why? Why does that work? Because humans instinctively know when we're being lied to. We also instinctively know when we're hearing truth. But we don't talk about that. We, as a culture, have been trained to talk about when we're being lied to. Oh, I was just lied to. Oh, I was just lied to. But how often do you hear people say, oh, someone just shared the truth with me? We don't. Because as a culture, we've been trained to judge. We've been trained to condemn. And we certainly have been trained to distrust. And that's what the creator really wants to talk about today. And it's really cool because we've also got a lot of first stream and second stream angelics here. So first stream angelics are the masters of matter in this universe. So they created matter. Okay. Now, what I want you to understand is, it's not like magic, like in cartoons and books and TV shows. Matter consists of aspects of existence, right? Okay. Of gases, of minerals, a whole bunch of different aspects of existence. Okay. So a grain of sand isn't just a grain of sand, it's an aspect of existence that is combined of minerals, gases, all of these things. But how do they get it to be a grain of sand? Well, they charge it with a very specific magnetic frequency. So that magnetic frequency determines if it's a solid or if it's a gas. It determines if those minerals and aspects of existence, because there's not really a word that can cover everything, on the periodic table, but it's so much more than what we've been trained to believe. So yes, science has discovered all of these aspects of existence, but the missing pieces are the ones that keep them together, right? Because that's the stuff you can't see. But yet it's the foundation of the universe. It's the foundation of existence. It's the foundation and existence of the planets, of the sun, the stars, the moon, all of those things, moons, right? So it's understanding that what existence is based on is energy. And every single energy has its own frequency and vibration. Okay. So frequency is how the energy is tuned. So if you think about it kind of like a radio station, okay, and we want to go to the frequency of a solid, okay, so it will be tuned to that frequency. So now, okay, once it's there and it's tuned to that, so now you've got a whole bunch of different components of universal existence, okay? I'm being very, very general here. But each aspect that is a solid, okay, or that is a aspect of physical matter, okay, has a number of different aspects of existence that are combined by frequency and vibration, which is energy. So what happens is when they're tuned to a specific frequency, okay, they start to vibrate in a way that communicates, okay, not only to each of the other minerals and aspects of existence in that collection, if you will, but it's also vibrating a specific energy out into the universe. Okay. And so that is how because here's the thing, every human is also its own frequency and vibration. Okay. Every aspect of existence is its own frequency and vibration. So now you have all of these energies that come together. So each one of them has its own frequency and vibration. And then you bring them together. Okay. And together they have another frequency and vibration. So it's kind of like footprints or fingerprints, right? That, they're very, very unique. They can't be duplicated. Okay. And so what happens is that energy communicates out to existence and it's broadcasting a signal. Now you have to remember that every single aspect of existence is also a receiver. So it's like a satellite. Okay. So you're walking around receiving frequencies and vibrations all over the place, different energies. Okay. That's how you can walk down the street. And I know this is the primal side of you walking down the street, seeing different people, seeing a building in front of you, seeing a car, because all of these frequencies and vibrations are coming together. Now, the tricky part is your brain, okay, has been trained. And the way they're showing me, it's like a channel that it's almost like on your radio station you've been told that these are the only stations that you can pick up. The things that you can see, things that you can hear, things that can be proven. Okay. And so this is why so many people discredit what they can't see. right? Because we've literally been taught, don't trust what you feel, and certainly don't trust what anybody else feels. Why would they do that? Why in the world would anyone teach you to not trust your instincts? Right. The only reason is so that they can control and manipulate you. It's really simple. And so they brought it into a culture so that they created this dynamic of judgment culture. Okay. And so we're currently underneath, it's a weight. You can feel the energy. It's this massive weight of, it doesn't matter what you want to say. You don't say it for fear that judgment is going to come at you from those you love, from those you don't even know. And it's not, your brain is probably walking around. You're not thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to judge me. They're going to judge me. No, that's not how your brain processes it. How your brain processes the experience is, well, I don't think I want to put myself out there in that way, because then I won't be able to, have a calm life over here. And, it might be uncomfortable if I put that on social media because my friends might think I'm into something, that's totally crazy. Or if I start this conversation at this dinner party, I don't want my friend who's hosting to be really upset. This is how it manifests. It's not out there in the front of everyone and you're sitting there going, I'm so scared, because you're sitting there thinking, I'm not scared of anything. But when your brain goes, oh, I'm not really sure how to say what I'm feeling, that's fear. I'm not really sure how to say what I feel. That's the result of years of fear. Okay? So this whole concept, right, of feeling into, right, that whole concept of having a culture that says it's no problem, we're just going to judge everybody. How can you prove that? I mean, even when I put clips of my videos, right, of these conversations with universal beings, and there's people commenting, all kinds of crazy things, but it doesn't matter to me. In fact, I could care less, in the sense of it's not going to stop me. It's not going to change who I be in the world. What it does do is actually give me more insight into just how much more work I need to do to help people see truth, right? It helps me understand. So when the universe and the universal beings are like, okay, this is what we're going to talk about today. This is part 122 of the story of creation, right? It's not just, it didn't happen in 7 days and, these are the things that happen. This is the world we live in. No, it's not even close to that. It's billions and trillions of years to create existence of anything. Planets, like they're showing me. It's like there's so much that needs to be taken into account, that needs to be respected, right? We need to understand how balance works. We need to understand how movement works. We need to understand how respect and compassion and purity work, because creation and existence are based on all of those things. Every bit of matter in existence is based on every single one of the 9 universal energies. So inside of you, okay, and this is really important, is the frequency and vibration, all 9, but they really want to talk today about purity and why purity is so important, okay? So purity is a frequency and energy that when you align with it, okay, so it's inside of you already. And yet it was used by the universal beings to create human existence because it holds a frequency and vibration that doesn't allow for anything to, it's like permeate it. You can't change purity, okay? So The way they're showing me, it's sorry, the words are like the energy. So if there's a cell, if you imagine this, my hand as a cell, as a cell, and it's a frequency and vibration of purity, nothing can come into that. It can't permeate that frequency and vibration. Nothing can. Now, what they can do is they can wrap around it and sort of mask that it's not there, but it can't change the structure of purity. This is really important. And it also can't permeate it. So permeating means that it changes the DNA, if you will, of that frequency and vibration. So you can't change the frequency of purity, but you can mask it. So it creates a sense of that it doesn't exist. You can create, an illusion that. So it's funny the way they're showing me, because we're so far disconnected from our awareness of these 9 fundamental energies that are the basis of universal existence and the basis of human existence. And so we are now at the point where we're like, what 9? And we have such a human understanding of those 9 energies, right? But more than that, we have a disconnection with the understanding of how they were applied to our existence. Okay. And so it's the creator and the angelics as well. So you've got first stream angelics, and then you've got second stream angelics. So the second stream angelics, bear with me, I know this is jumping a little bit, but they always do this. And then because they're speaking in a circle, right? So they bring it back to the point. And this is just, so bear with me. If your brain is having a bit of a tricky time, that's okay. So is mine, because it's not really on. So the second stream angelics, okay, are the angelics of experience. So once the first stream angelics created matter, they created all of this beautiful matter to work with. Well, now they're like, well, what are we going to do with it? So they realized that they needed beings who could govern experience, who could create opportunities for matter to flourish, right? And so in doing so, it's all based on frequency and vibration, okay? So they created the matter, and now the second stream angelics now can create a flower from that matter. Remember, a flower is an experience. It's not matter, because it's an evolution. And yet it is combined of matter, just like humans. Okay. So they're showing me, if you think for a moment about conception, okay. So conception, when a human is conceived, okay, there is a very unique frequency and vibration that comes together. And in that frequency and vibration, so there's a frequency in the egg, there's a frequency in the sperm, but when they meet, it also is another frequency and vibration. So all of these, yes, okay, I know this is a lot. Yes, the egg and the sperm are physical matter, but in order to create a human, it's actually 90% energy that is working behind the scenes. Okay. So the physical representation of that union, if you will, okay, it triggers an experience that's greater. The way they're showing me, it's really cool. It triggers an experience that is greater than the sum of its parts. Okay. And what that means is the sperm and the egg, it's, theoretically that shouldn't make a human, or it shouldn't make anything, but it has the potential to create something greater than the sum of its parts because of the frequency and vibration that are programmed into the experience itself. Okay. And so that is what humans are capable of. And so it's not just in childbearing. It's in everything, but we've forgotten how to access that, right? We genuinely have been taught to mistrust anything that we can't see. And yet, so they want to go back, right, to the concept of conception. You can't see what's happening, and yet a human comes out of it, out of that experience. How do you trust that? How do you trust that? And that's what they're trying to show you is we've been lied to on such epic levels that our energy, our faith in ourself is what's been rocked to the core. You know, there's so many people out there thinking, I can't trust this person. I can't trust this organization. I can't trust this, group of people, this neighbor, whatever it is. I can't trust anybody. No, you can trust everybody because trust actually has nothing to do with any other person in existence. That's not trust. Trust is an understanding of existence itself. It's a recognition of who you are and what you're meant to be doing in the world, and that the universe is going to help you, not because it needs to show up, not because it owes you anything, but because that's how creation was created. That every being who participates in existence has the assistance of the universe. Right. So if your assistance isn't coming and you're sitting there thinking, well, they don't want to help me, it means you're not participating in existence. It means you're participating in something that is too small for the universe to participate in. Do you see? It's not because you're not incredible. It's because you decided that you can't do something incredible. How crazy is that? Like, do you know that more than half of this planet is filled with women who don't actually realize how incredible their ability to carry a child is? And it's filled with men who have no concept of how incredible their ability to conceive a child is. We just walk around like, yeah, well, I think I'm going to, when we're younger, right? I think I want to have this many kids and I want to have this house and I want to have this partner. And we need to start thinking about our life in miracles. That's what the creator is saying. How many miracles are you going to not only experience in your lifetime, but how many miracles are you going to participate in? And furthermore, what do you believe are miracles? Isn't that fun? What is a miracle to you? Is it something that makes you comfortable? Make sure everybody else in the room feels safe and heard and understood and cared for? Or is a miracle creating something that it's never been done before? Not sure if it's going to work, but we know in our heart we have to participate in it because this is the thing we're passionate about. The tricky part is that our passions have been dulled from years and years and years of being abused. Right? When your mind has been controlled and manipulated, we know it's abuse, right? But let me explain to you for a minute, and this is what the creator is showing me. So all of those years of control and manipulation, right? The results, okay, so this is where it's actually what they're showing me is really cool. So this is where science comes in handy because it can actually measure the amount of energy running through your body, but more importantly, it can actually track the amount of energy running through your brain. Okay. And so we are at an evolutionary state in existence where this is the lowest use of brain capacity that humans have ever used. And this has been going on, so you have to understand 50,000 years ago, when this started, this control and manipulation started, the brain started losing its capacity to understand, its capacity to follow, right? Okay. And so what happened is it's like they turned our brains against us. Okay. So in doing so, and how did they do that? Well, we've talked about it a lot, but ultimately the goal was, so your brain is designed to follow, right? It's designed like a stoplight. I don't even know what the right word is, but when you're driving and you have the red, the yellow, and the green, right? Lights, which are, I don't want to be too naive, but I'm assuming that's pretty universal around the world. So ultimately, that's how your brain was designed, okay? To be like a stoplight, like red, this is like needs your attention now. Yellow, it's gonna need your attention sooner than later. Green, proceed. We're good. And so what's happened, okay, so originally, right, we'd walk around in green mode all the time. We would be participating, and every once in a while, as an explorer, right, you're going to have red and yellow come up and no big deal. And you deal with it right away. But what happened is they manipulated the brain. So it's funny the way they're showing me. It's like our brains, if you can see energy and feel energy, I highly encourage you to feel into this, because what they're showing me is originally our brains were designed with channels of energy running through them, like big, beautiful channels. It's like veins almost, and they're filled with energy. And that's just how I'm seeing it. And they're so big and they're just bright. Like it's like this beautiful, soft, buttery yellow, but there's so many of them. They're not crisscrossing either. They're very clean lines. So the brain it has the capacity to run massive amounts of energy. Okay. And with the control and manipulation, what happened is the lines aren't straight anymore. They're crossed, and they're also really small. So they've come down in size and they've dimmed in their energy and the brightness of the energy that's running through them. So sometimes they're like little tiny threads, right? They're really tiny. And some of them look so thin that they could just break almost, but they won't break, but they look so, it's like when something is frayed, right? And it's so, so thin. But what's happening is the crossing is the problem. Okay. The crossing is the major problem, because when energy lines, bear with me here, because I'm learning this as they're sharing it with me. I've never seen any of this before. So when energy lines in the brain cross, okay, it creates friction energetically. So what happens is when what that feels like is it feels like very frenetic energy. Okay. So the energy is no longer flowing smoothly. So you have the capacity to deal with whatever's coming up, right? As your brain was designed to do. When the energy is crossing, okay, it's like little neurons they're showing me. It's so cool. It's like little neuron storms, okay? But they're like shocks to the system. But you're not walking around going like this. Sometimes we are. But for the most part, you're walking around going, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can say that. I don't know what I'm going to do here. I don't know what I'm. Can you feel that energy? It's like, it's uncomfortable and it's intense. Most of us are walking around in that energy 40, 50, 60, 90% of our day. And we don't even realize how uncomfortable we are, because we're so uncomfortable and we've been in that state for so long that we've lost our connection to being calm, right? To being the frequency and vibration that we were created. So what happens as a result? Okay. So yes, we've got anxiety. Yes, we've got depression. Yes, we've got anger and judgment and jealousy and all of those things. But those are just the labels that, people have put on us to give us some kind of understanding of ourselves, because that's really what humans are looking for. Why do we go to the doctor when we don't feel well? Because we want to understand what's wrong so we can fix it. So we can make ourselves actually feel better. And that's part of the problem, is we don't want to just feel better and we don't want to just feel good. We're actually meant to reinstate our natural state of being, because what they've done is they've removed our natural state of being by encouraging our minds to be so bombarded by facts and information that doesn't actually matter to you. It doesn't matter to existence. And the problem is you've got so much stuffed in there that you are causing the crosses in the wires left, right, and center all the time. We're on overload. And you know what? How many times have you ever thought, I'm overwhelmed? This is too much. I can't take any more. Right. Because your instincts already know the truth. But your brain is like, I got to keep going because these are the rules and this is how I have to participate in life. Even though I'm overwhelmed, even though that doesn't make any sense, for example, like someone you love passes away. Is it simple that they're gone and you just have to deal with your emotions and say goodbye? No. Have you ever seen the paperwork for what you have to do when someone passes away? That's like a whole lifetime of paperwork. Honest to goodness. Like, you can't just mourn. You can't just be in the energy of watching that human cross over who they're being and who they're becoming and who you become as a result of losing the person that you love. Oh, no, we can't do that. We've got to keep their brains busy, because if they understand existence, we're out of a job. And that's it. That's it. That's what it comes down to. They're out of a job. And that's how the creator wants you to start thinking about this, is our job is to put them out of a job. Okay. It doesn't mean that you're going to war with anybody. It means that you're taking back your sovereignty. You're taking back your ability to recognize truth. You're taking back your ability to communicate truth simply, freely. You're not angry at anybody. You're just going to learn how to do things in the most efficient and effective way for you. If paperwork needs to be done, that's great. Tell me how to do it simply. Don't make it complicated. And the other part is we have to decompress, because there is excuse my language, but a shitload of paperwork that has to be done to participate in the human experience. It doesn't matter what it is. If you own something, there's paperwork. If you don't own something, there's paperwork. If you're in this world, there is paperwork, period. Okay. And what the creator is saying right now is the paperwork doesn't matter. Okay. Yes, you have to do it. You have to do it. But the anxiety that is coming up in you to get it done, to make sure, did I mess something up? Did I mistake something? All those things. That's the problem. That's why it takes you 10 times longer to do the paperwork. It doesn't mean don't read it. Don't pay attention. It means, because how often, right, do you find, even now on every website, like, these are the terms and conditions. If you have a phone, terms and conditions, terms and conditions, terms and conditions. Oh, we updated our terms and conditions. We're all exhausted. We're freaking exhausted. And the reality is We're walking around in fear of everything. Everything. I don't want my name on this. I don't want my face on this. I don't, right? We're trying to hide everything. But if you really come back to the truth, okay, that every frequency and vibration is available universally, okay? And all of these things, these fears that are hanging out in your head, right? They're all crossed wires. They're all performance. You better hurry up and perform this way, or you're going to miss out. Really? How are you going to miss out on a life that you chose here? You chose to come here. You chose the parents. You chose the experiences. You're meant to be here. What are you going to miss out on? It doesn't make any sense. And so we need to come back. We need to come back and just remember that our lives are not here to fill out paperwork and to participate in terms and conditions. We're here to use the resources that are here to allow us to fulfill the mission we came to fulfill. That's it. So instead of looking at all of this paperwork, right, through your human side, through the rules that we've been taught, they want you to start to look at, and it's perfect because we're going right into tax season. We're in the thick of tax season right now, right? They want you to start to look at paperwork as the opportunity to fulfill your dreams and goals. It's the opportunity to get closer. And your brain is like, huh? How does that work? Because here's the thing. Every time you accomplish something, you complete an aspect of existence that needs to be done, right? You're creating something that is more than the sum of its parts. That's your life. Your life is more than the sum of the parts. Do you see? So paperwork is just an opportunity for growth. Doesn't matter what paperwork it is. It could be anything. You could be buying something. You could be filing for bankruptcy. It doesn't matter because it's still the opportunity for growth. And we have to stop walking around with fear, guilt, and shame over paperwork. Because that right there, paperwork is the number one thing that contributes to crossing the wires in the brain. Isn't that crazy? Paperwork. Why? Because they've created a society based on rules and regulations. You have to sign for everything. Right? I mean, the moment, right? Like the moment you're born, someone has to say you're born. There has to be a signed document that says you're born. Now, that's a whole other discussion, and we will go into that eventually. But ultimately, someone needs to sign a piece of paper so that you can then take it so you have proof that you had a baby. Because the baby isn't proof enough. Someone needs to sign a piece of paper. And so when you really begin to understand the world that these beings have created, and we really started talking about these beings back about 10 episodes ago, those who actually created the control and manipulation. This was a massive part of their strategy, was to take your brain and completely take it off course, completely. And they tried a bunch of different things. But what they found was if we can keep them consumed in fear and anxiety, and ultimately, if their brain is super busy all the time, it's like the way I'm seeing it, it's like a camera shutter going up and down, right? If we can keep their brains so busy right? Consumed is the word for so busy. If we can consume their brains with stuff that they have to take care of, then we can ensure an imbalance of not only truth, but purity, right? We can pretend that what happens is, okay, so purity again, right? You can't be the aspects of purity in you. It's the essence of existence itself. It's the understanding and recognition that everything exists because it's meant to exist, and it exists in the perfect frequency and vibration. So the perfect form, the perfect experience that it is meant to be in, to exist in, right? But if our brains are so busy, what happens is we start to doubt our purity of ourself. So we start to look for alternate solutions, right? So this is where if I get here, if I have that house, I'll be better. If I have that partner, I'll be better. If I have that haircut or that outfit, I'll be better, right? We start to change the physical representation without recognizing that it's actually the frequency and vibration that needs to change. And what they mean by that is we need to tune back in to the frequency and vibration that's inside of us, because it's not that you're not tuned into, it's not that you're not who you are. It's that you're trying to match who you are with a frequency and vibration of society that doesn't match who you are. That's the problem. So what you need to do is recognize that. So just feel that for a minute, right? So you're trying to take who you are, right? And tune it to a station that makes you feel comfortable. But the problem is you're not really sure who you are. That's why it's not working. That's why it keeps failing over and over again, because you've decided who you are is who you see in the mirror, is how much money you make, right? All the stuff that basically is paperwork, because who you see in the mirror is often paperwork in the world we live in today. Because if you have done anything to your appearance, you cut your hair, you color your hair, you pluck your eyebrows, whatever it is, you shave your face, any of those things, those are all reflections of paperwork. You do something to change who you be. We do it all the time. And it's not because it's bad. It's understanding that you've been trained in a society that's made that more important than who you are. So what the creator is wanting you to understand, okay, today, and what he's really talking about is we're in an existence shift, right? We know that. Everybody knows that. There's this huge shift going on. But what does it really mean? What's really going on? I mean, seriously, we have all these like out there spiritual things and different people saying it's 7D and 5D and oh my gosh. What's really happening is we're restoring our connection with consciousness. It didn't go anywhere. We just forgot that it's there. That's it. It's like the paperwork, honestly, that's been in the back of your closet that you have completely forgot is there because it's been there your whole life. And it's not like you put it away and hid it. Strategically, they taught you to make sure you put it in the back of the closet. Pretend it's not there. And ultimately, it's purity that's going to help you. And that's why he's been talking about purity so much today. He is in the creator, because purity is the heart and soul of your essence. It's what allows you to recognize truth from another being. It's what allows you to remain balanced, but to recognize when the universe is offering you an opportunity that's meant for you, right? You could be in a group of 10,000, 5,000 people, and someone says, does anybody want to do this? And you're the only one that puts their hand up because you're like, yeah, I know that's for me. But you could also be in a group of 100,000 people and everybody's saying they want to do this. They want to do this thing. They want to help humanity here. They want to help this group of people here. Everybody's talking about it. They're so excited. And then someone says, okay, who's going to do it? And everybody's like, they put their hands down. Because now there's a whole stage right there. They can go up and do it, but they don't want to do it. No, because they're worried they're going to be judged. Right. They're worried that someone's going to say something that's going to make them uncomfortable. Well, that's where we are as a human race. Now, do you see what he's showing you? It's understanding that you're here for a reason. And it's not like a job where you have to prove to everybody that you can do this. No, there's no paperwork involved. Your mission is about trusting yourself, right? What does that look like? It looks like recognizing how you feel and then allowing yourself to discover what you're going to do about it. The problem with humans is they think, oh, well, if this is what I'm going to do, then I need this strategy, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. No, that's not what the universe said. That's not what the message said. That's not what the awareness said. And that's certainly not what the energy said. The energy said, here, look over here. Look over here. Here's your opportunity. It's right here. It's time. It's brilliant and it's beautiful. And your job is to allow your brain to begin to function as it was created. And what does that mean? It means, okay, now I'm curious. Let's learn more. Show me more. That's how the brain was literally designed, to be an indicator, to tell you, oh, look over here, but not look over here. Here's the strategy of how we're going to deal with this. And what about if this happens and this happens? Oh, and we should protect ourselves from this situation and this. Oh, and we shouldn't do this because that's going to make those people uncomfortable. That's not what the brain was designed for. But that's how they've used it against you. It's quite masterful. So the question is, are you going to take the power of your brain back and use it as it was designed? Because your brain is a follower. Right? It's literally there to show you, whoop, pay attention over here. Look. Not with the full strategy. It's not meant to lead. Your brain doesn't have the ability. And honestly, the people who are leading more with their brains are the ones who've been controlled with paperwork more than others, really is what it comes down to. You do not need thousands of people behind you. You don't need billions or millions of dollars behind you to accomplish greatness in this universe. Why? Because that's not how the universe works. But you've been trained to believe it. So your brain will only strategize with those rules in your head. If maybe you're setting out, you want to write a book, and you're worried about how it's going to be published and how it's going to reach the public, blah, 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 blah. Right? If you know you're meant to write a book, just write the book. Stop not writing because you're worried about all these other things, because those are all paperwork things. Those are all the things that consume you. And what happens is you don't actually get the book written. Right? It's the same. Maybe you're meant to help birth babies into the world. And you worry on a regular basis if you're good enough. If they're going to, what about you is going to help them trust you? Well, if you trust you, then you create that frequency and vibration. You create that safe place that everyone seems to be looking for. But the reality is, safe doesn't mean it's protected. Safe means, I can feel something. There's a connection here. That's what feels safe when you go in a room. Someone genuinely wants to connect with you, right? When you walk into a room and people don't want to connect and there's no connections going on, that's when you're like, ugh, I got to get out of here. It's not safe or unsafe. It's understanding and recognizing that way our brain has been taught to process that information. Either you're feeling the frequencies and vibrations of other people or you're not. And if you're not, it's not because you're not good enough. It's because that is not the right place for you. And if your brain strategized that that's the place you needed to be and you worked, 10 years to get into that room and all of a sudden you're in that room and you're like, oh, this does not feel good. There must be something wrong with me. See, there's another sneaky little way that they've trained your brain. There's nothing wrong with you. Stop doing that. The question you need to ask is, okay, so this doesn't feel right. Why? Why would you ask that? Well, the first thing you got to do is notice if it's because you're in fear. If you're in fear, your frequency and vibration is not going to meet the room. If nobody else in that room is in fear. So it doesn't mean you're not supposed to trust anybody else. See, this is the problem with people walking around going, I can't trust this person, can't trust this person. You can't trust yourself. The only person you need to trust is you. Because if someone has ill intent, you walk into the room and if you're in the pure frequency and vibration of who you are, you're going to know what's going on. You don't have to know the details of their plan and their strategy. You're going to know if you're meant to be there or not. And if you're not, then get out. But if you feel when you walk in that room and it doesn't feel right, that's when you ask, okay, am I not supposed to be here? And the energy goes, well, you're supposed to be here. You're like, well, then why does it feel so uncomfortable? The energy will tell you because you feel like you're a fraud. Well, there's a different problem. See? If you feel like you're a fraud, that's because all those freaking parts of your brain, they're all afraid. There's no energy running because energy that runs clean and pure in those beautiful straight lines, they know. They allow you to know who you are, why you exist, what you're here to accomplish, what you have to offer the entire universe, let alone each individual human. You know that, you embody that. But no, we're walking around with these frayed brains. We're so consumed with thinking all this other stuff that our lines are messed up. So, what are you going to do to bring those lines back so they're beautiful and fat and running and they're not crossing, they're just flowing, so much beautiful, pure energy that is you and your connection to yourself and the universe and existence. You're going to start with the frequency and vibration of purity. And they're saying you can bring a little bit of joy in there too, because joy is another one. Joy is not like happiness. It's not fleeting. Joy allows you to recognize the truth of a moment. Okay? We're going to go deeper into all of this, but right now, more than anything, they wanted you to begin to understand that the breakdown of the human mind, it's not your fault. You didn't create this scenario in this situation, but you did step right into it. You chose to put it on every single time you fill out another form. There's more paperwork. You sign your name. You commit to something. Doesn't matter what it is. Every single time you commit, right? Even a marriage commitment, doesn't matter what it is. Every time you commit to something, you're following the rules set out by somebody else about how you can exist. So what they want you to do is start to think long and hard about how you participate now, how you commit. And it's time to stop committing to things that are not going to make you feel good. Only commit to things that nourish who you are. And if it's involving with other humans, then it needs to nourish them too. Nourish means it's full recognition of self, and every part of you is recognized and respected, which is another universal energy. We're going to go much deeper into all these aspects of existence going forward. But for now, they just want you to sit with that. Okay. Sit with that. If you're new, again, I highly encourage that you check out the story of creation from the beginning. You just click the button that's coming up here on my right. And other than that, subscribe, and I will see you next time for the story of creation on the Authentic Human podcast. Bye for now. I'm Michelle Vickers.